Oh, hello everyone. This should be live now. I hope. Opening web browser. Let's get that chat open. I hope you're all alright. I thought I'd just hop online, show you all how a 35-year-old woman acts, which I thought was a funny title on a recent Asmongold video. So I thought I'd make it my own on here. Let's see whether anyone's here yet. I think I'm actually chatting to myself at the moment. Hope you're all okay with my grand total of 0 viewers at the moment. Hello Super Vector. Thank you for keeping me company. It's nice to see that there's actually someone here now. Hope you're all right. Eduardo from Germany. 1697. Hello David. David there. And Remy Lubu? How do you say that? Hello to you as well. How are you lot doing? You all right? What are you up to at the moment, apart from chatting to me in here now? At the moment, I've literally just finished doing my voiceover and filming for my next video, so I thought, oh, well, I've got a bit of makeup on. I thought I'd come online for a little while in between doing my work and then needing to go and pick up the kids later. James Reynolds, hello. Eduardo, hello. Oh, Jay Green, thank you. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much for that. That's really, really nice of you. That's like a nice way to start a stream, isn't it? So Eduardo, you're on pause from work, and Remy, you're heading to work. And then we've got Mayerg, skiving. You're skiving at the moment. That's very naughty. Why are you skiving? To be fair though, when I was working as an estate agent many moons ago, I used to skive off work and go hide around my other half's nan's house. They used to send me out to do like door knocking and stuff, and it got to a point where I was getting so sick of it. I'd just go hide around there and go put my car on the drive and go and sit in there for an hour or two, just because I used to hate cold calling. Who wants to send a young woman out cold calling on her own? It's not exactly like the safest, most sensible thing to do, especially where we used to live. Ugly Camel saying, yo, MTV Raps. Super Vector doing the old emojis. Yeah, I've got my glasses on today because every time I stream, I leave my glasses off and then I can't see anything properly. And I'm like, oh, what's that say? What did that say? So I thought, oh, do you know what? I'll just wear them today. Stuart is saying, hi Lady Decade, nice to see you go live. Yeah, I'm trying to make a bit more of an effort to do it. But I've managed to get my work done a little bit quicker today, so I thought, oh, well, I'll hop on, see how everyone's doing. I suppose we could do a bit of a Q&A. Put at Lady Decade if you've got a question for me, because then when it comes up in the chat on there, it highlights it for me. So that'd be pretty cool. Like, if you've got any old questions, any old things, I'll answer most things, provided that I can without getting myself demonetized. Jesse Wood was saying, just recently saw you on my feed. Love your video game commentary and how you cosplay while doing it. Thank you. I don't cosplay all that much, but when I do like to bust out a nice cosplay every so often. So I did Tifa the other day, which was really nice. Super Vector saying, I have to do a test in 2.5 hours. So I want to be here for as long as I can. Oh, what's your test on? What are you doing a test on? I used to hate having to do tests at school. Awful. Sarah Miero saying, ayo, that's crazy. This is how a 35-year-old woman acts. It is indeed. So I might not be the usual 35. Well, I might be. I don't know. I don't think I'm that particularly special. So I suppose I can represent the 35-year-old women. Jones Reynolds, love your glasses. Thank you. I'm not loving them so much. I've had this same pair for, I think, 4 or 5 years now. And they're starting to become so scratched up that I can almost like see the scratches now on the lenses permanently. I really should just go get an eye test and a fresh pair of glasses. But to be honest with you, I've had this particular pair for like 4 or 5 years. And then the pair that I had before that was this same frame. I tend to not like change too much, and I liked these frames because they're quite thin. So they're not like, when you're wearing them, you can't just see like nothing but frame around your eyes. So yeah, just stick with these. Scrambles is saying, what is your favourite console? Mine is between the NES and the Genesis. Scrambles, I reckon probably my favourite console at the moment, I don't know. You see, I think I used to always say the Nintendo 3DS. Always said that because I used to play it like all day, every day. If you can hear typing in the background, by the way, it's my other half's over there typing up a script as well for his own channel. It always used to be the 3DS. And at the moment, I'm playing the Xbox Series X the most. But that's literally because I'm so sick of a lot of the modern titles that I've just given up and I'm going back to older titles because I've got a whole collection of games over there. So, like, what's the point in having a games collection if I'm not playing them? Although what I'm finding, which is really annoying, is a lot of, like, the Japanese development houses, you stick their games into the Xbox and they don't work, which is really annoying. So there's not a great selection of JRPGs that are available on like, the 360 as it is. So the ones that are on there and I can't play them anyway, so it's like, oh great, thanks for that. Karen Weathersby is saying hello Lady Dickhead, hello to you. Ciro Miero is saying guess why they call you Lady Decade? Why do you think they all call me Lady Decade apart from the fact that that's the name I gave myself? So everyone has to call me that. Remy is saying, what's your favourite game system? Just more or less answered that one, so I must have already read your question. Oh, no. That was from Scrambles who asked that. John the Savage is saying, you should collab with Jimquisition. Jimquisition. Do you know that name, Rich?
What's that?
Jimquisition.
Jim Sterling. Stephanie Sterling.
Oh! Okay. Oh, I didn't... do you know, because every time we talk about that channel, we say Stephanie Sterling, so that makes sense. Okay. Jimquisition. Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. Let me just, sorry, I'm just rearranging my screen a little bit so that I can put my chats so I don't go like rubbernecking every time I want to answer a question. EAE is saying, today was a day I found out Lady Decades was younger than I. Oh God, how old did you think I was? How old did you think I was? No. It's like, it must be the wrinkles. I spent all this time like carefully arranging these lights and it's not even disguising how old I am. Luis is saying, hi, shout out from Brazil. Nice. I've been doing flags with my kids and my son, who's really, really interested in flags, loves a Brazilian flag. And I think I recently found out that the writing across the centre of your flag, what was it? Order and... I can't remember. What the words were. But I'm sure one of them is like order. Can't remember. You're going to have to tell me now. You're going to have to tell me what the words are on your own flag so that I can then have my memory jogged. So let's take a look, catching back up with chat again because it's moving faster than I thought. Sierra Miro is saying, ooh, if you love older games on the Series X, may I recommend Guardian Heroes? I've played Guardian Heroes, or Phantom Dust. I've not played Phantom Dust though. And you look a whole decade younger. That's why thank you. I wish I did look that, but no, I have to do like a lot of like putting on makeup and carefully placing my lights to try to not look my age. And I'm getting to the point now where I keep thinking that I need to dye my hair because every so often I'm like, is that a grey hair? Oh great, my age is catching up with me. Robert Canuti is saying, Lady D, do you see any companies among AAA publishing that truly focus on satisfying gameplay elements over projecting their economic agendas? Obviously, every company is set up to make as much money as possible, and games are obviously no exception there. Justin Moans, that's a name. Thank you very much for the lovely donation. Thank you. So yeah, obviously all companies, they're going to be setting out to make as much money as possible. But I think at the moment, I'm having a real thing where I might actually make a dedicated video. I'm not sure. I have to talk it over with the man over there as well, what he thinks as well. About they're trying to create investor safe content for the modern audience. And I think we all pretty much know the modern audience isn't a thing. It doesn't really exist because otherwise all of these games with all of these various elements in that some consider to be woke. So my phone's now making noise, so I'm just going to turn it off. Yeah, they'd be selling well, like Concord, 2 weeks, come on. And then even before Concord, there was Hyenas, which was the one that Sega sunk. How much money did they sink into that? Do you remember? it was their most expensive project ever. And they didn't actually go to the point of releasing it. It didn't even pass testing when they tested it with the audience. So you'd think that companies like Sony, etc., would learn from stuff like that, but no, they don't. They try and push it out to market anyway, and now it gets to be a tax write-off. Yeah, at the moment, I feel like they're making all of these like investor-safe games, and they're not very investor-safe, are they? They're just not. How do they not work this stuff out? John is saying, do you know, is it worth it to grab a copy of Rockman X3 on PS1 if I already have the SNES port? I don't know, have we got that? I know you're trying to be silent, but normally I'll be shouting at you from downstairs.
You've asked me like 5 questions.
Yeah, because you're in the room. You're in the room. Like, have we got X3 or not?
I might as well just go downstairs.
Yeah, you might as well go downstairs. Have we got X3 or not? Because I can't remember what ones we do.
On what platform?
Here, PlayStation.
Yes.
Yes.
We do, yeah.
Is it over there?
We got it on the Super Nintendo
as well.
And that was the most money I've ever spent on a game.
Okay. So, because this is a better question for you to answer about, is it worth it? Is it worth playing it on PlayStation if you got a copy of it on the SNES?
I would say no, because load times and anything 2D, I don't think you should.
Yeah, true. Load times on the PlayStation, so that makes it not worth it if you've got the option to play it on the SNES. Okay, Killer J Plays is saying, she looks younger than me. I have kids, so I feel 50. I think everyone who has kids feels 50. Stuart saying, you talk really well, but I can't tell what your accent is. To be honest with you, I'm not even sure anymore what my accent is. I always thought that I had an estuary accent, although apparently I have a different accent than that. What did we call it? I can't remember.
I'm a distraction.
Yeah, you are a distraction.
I'm going to have to go.
Just
sorry, everyone.
No, just carry it downstairs. You don't need to put on an accent on my flipping channel. But no, apparently I have a middle class accent, and I don't really know how I've got middle class accent. Received pronunciation, I think is the term. Although I don't think I've got it. I think I do have an estuary accent. But yes, please leave. Because then I'll stop wanting to ask you questions. I'll just shout at you through the stream instead. Okay. That'll teach him from trying to sit in the room whilst I'm trying to do my stream. Oh, Justin Moans again. Can you have Top Man make a cameo out his moustache? He's just left. Otherwise, I'd say yes, but he's now gone sliding downstairs because the reality is he's saying he's distracting me, but he's sitting there trying to write a script for his video and trying to do research, and I'm distracting him by keep asking questions. So, and I did say to him, take the laptop downstairs earlier. He chose not to. He chose to come in here. So, who's really at fault here? Raymond Berg is saying, I stopped buying games a few years ago. I'm old enough to have played Atari when it was still new. The way the games industry now makes me say no. Well, yeah, exactly. Like, what? To be honest with you, at the moment, the way it's all going is making me feel like almost like hopeless in some regards, because there's now nothing to particularly look forward to, because you just don't know whether it's just going to be polluted with a load of rubbish in it that like immersion breaking modern politics that we don't particularly care about or want in our games at all. It's like Asmongold had pointed out in a video recently that like it's not, for example, the video that I've got coming out tonight is about Avowed. So obviously we had to talk about the whole pronouns thing. And Asmongold, the point that he made was, it's not necessarily the fact that there's pronouns in a game. It's the fact that it feels like a dog whistle or a red flag that there's going to be a load of rubbish in the game that's going to get on your nerves and break the immersion. And sorry, but I do agree with that. It's like, if it was just pronouns on its own, and I really did want to particularly play the game, then fine. But if it's just going to have a load of extra stuff in it that's just going to get on my nerves, then what's the point? And this is what I'm finding at the moment, is I'm turning back to older games because I know what I'm going to get. Do you know what I mean? Like, does anyone else feel like that? You know what you're going to get with an older game. There's not going to be a whole load of rubbish in there. There's not going to be a load of shaming. If I want to see big bouncy boobs, I'm going to see that. If I want to be able to design my character to look the way that I want to, and I need to play like Fallout 4 instead, or I need to go play Skyrim again instead, or something like that, then fine, I'll just do that instead. I've got all these games around me. I don't have to go running out to go buy the latest game anymore. Do you know what I mean? I just don't see the point in supporting the industry if it's just becoming stupid, unless it's something that I'm particularly excited about, like for example, part 3 of Final Fantasy 7. I will go out and get that. But apart from that, at the moment, half the time, whenever they say that there's a new game, I'm just waiting for the next bit of drama to come out about it. And it's a stupid world to live in, do you know what? So, right, and I'm rambling now, so I'm missing the chat. So, Top Back Gamer Man saying, apologies everyone, it was clearly too much of a distraction being present, working in the room. Josh is saying, you make scripts. I thought you guys gain information through photosynthesis or something. Yeah, we just sort of lay in the sun and absorb it, and then it appears on the screen in front of us. Trip is saying, video games used to be a niche. Now that they're mainstream, they've become a political battleground. Yeah, that's how it feels. It really does. It's become stupid. I feel like the gaming industry has now just become like Hollywood, you know, like what Disney's done with Star Wars and so on and so forth, and even like their own flipping remakes of stuff. Sarah Miero is saying, oh no, I miss my Senran Kagura and my Japanese bouncy oingy bongles. Tim Holm is saying, that's what I like about older games. It's what you see is what you get, nothing fancy. Except you say that, but like I'm playing Lost Odyssey at the moment, which is a JRPG, like a really traditional JRPG on the 360. And it's fantastic. It's got some really good levels of intrigue to it now. Like I'm really, really getting into it. I've just got into the equivalent of disc 3, and I think there's like 4 discs in total for that game. Except you don't have to go hunting down the discs with the Xbox Series X. But I'm playing through it, and it's just as interesting. It's got an interesting story to it. I'm quite happy with it, and it might not be as extensive as what modern games are, but it's extensive enough. It still feels epic enough. I'm getting a lot of satisfaction out of it, out of like choosing what direction I want with my characters, who's going to be my tank, who's going to be my thief, who's going to be my white mage, who's going to be my black mage, and so on and so forth. And it's also nice playing a game, a proper traditional JRPG, where you've got the option of 2 children to be in your party as well. So what more can you want? And there's a character in it who's absolutely hilarious, but would not be put into a modern game, because his humour would be considered sexist now, or you wouldn't find a character like this particular character in a modern game. And I think he's hilarious. He's the comic relief. But for anyone, like if anyone's played Lost Odyssey already, I'm talking about the character Jansen. He is so funny. I'm regularly crying laughing at shit he says. He's really, really entertaining. And that's what I'm going to do. I shall play this game, and then I shall go for my collection and see what works on the Xbox Series X and what doesn't. And worst case scenario, I'll go back to The Witcher 3 again. Sorry, I'm looking in that direction because I'm looking at my games. I mean, there's plenty over there even in the Xbox One library that I would go back to. I'll go back to Fallout 4 again. I mean, to be honest with you, yeah, there's plenty over there. There's a couple of Tales games as well that I'd have a go on. Tales of Arise. I've had a brief go on Tales of Arise. I suppose I could give that one a go. It was a bit like bleak though when I played it. But yeah, to be honest with you, I've played it multiple times as well. Fable 3, I had to go back and play that again. Fable 2 again. Fable 2 is probably the best of the lot out of those. Drewby, that's a name I've not seen in a while, Drewby. Simple philosophy: if it doesn't interfere with gameplay, narrative, or immersion, then it's perfectly reasonable to be in a game. If it is a stumbling block to any of the aforementioned, then nope. Yeah, completely agree with you. Glyn Norrington. What's your favourite Power Ranger? I cloned one once. That'd be the Green Ranger, Glyn Norrington. Go away, Glyn. Why are you here? Why are you here? Get back to editing. Sierra Miero is saying, I must ask, have you ever had a game in your collection that you have bought for your backlog that you realised that you had for a rainy day, looking through Steam and found Disgaea 7? To be honest with you, I live with a human encyclopedia, so I don't think we've ever bought a double of a game unknowingly anyway. Like, if you, like, for example, if we've gone out and bought a job lot and there's a few copies in there, then yeah. But I've never gone into like a shop and then thought, oh, Monkey Hero, I'll buy that, and then I've already got Monkey Hero. No, generally speaking. I did once try to actually make a database with all of our games. Oh, that was long. I mean, technology's moved on now, so it'll probably be a bit easier now. I'll probably be able to find an app where I can literally just scan the box of each thing, and that might be easier. I'll have to take a look, and then I can go through the whole collection without just having to get up and walk behind myself. Super Vector, favourite of Final Fantasy character? Oh God, don't come in with the easy questions, will you? Favourite Final Fantasy character? Hard to say. Pick a game, and then I'll say what my favourite character is from the game, provided I've played it, which is most of them. But it's hard to say. Favourite Final Fantasy character? Oh God, yeah, no, I can't, off the top of my head, there's too many. That's like saying what's your favourite, I don't know, dog. I don't know. Justin Moans is saying, what is it? Okay. I've missed something there. Michael, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Lady Decade, do you like Trump or Kamala? What? I'm not voting for them. Like, I live in England. So it makes no odds to me who becomes the president in America. Obviously, Trump's won. And Kamala Harris obviously didn't. But as far as I'm concerned, like, doesn't really have any bearing on my country that badly. So it doesn't really make a difference to me. Like, who's the lesser of two evils? I don't know. Why do we live in a world where most countries seem to have a two-party system? Pick this shit party or pick that shit party. Like, so, I don't know. I don't want to say that politics doesn't have a place in gaming, because to an extent at the moment we can't escape politics in gaming, which is another reason why I'm getting a bit fed up of things. But, like, if you were to say to me, oh, who do you like better, David Cameron or Jeremy Corbyn? That's sort of a bit more relevant for me to say, like, who I like better. And whose policies do I agree with better, because that directly affects me as a citizen of this country. But for me to say that I particularly give a hoot about who's in charge of a different country, that's like asking me, like, I don't know, like, who should become the new president in France. Doesn't affect me particularly. So Billy Donuts is saying Kefka is the best Final Fantasy villain. Well, yeah, because he succeeded. He did manage to end the world. So, yeah, he's probably the most successful one. And anyway, and he is hilarious. I suppose if we go for favourite Final Fantasy characters, let's go with Final Fantasy 9 because I played that recently. I suppose Zidane, but he's the main character, isn't he? But I find him hilarious. He's like a little pest. Again, he's another character that if they remade that game, his behaviour would be altered. The way he talks to Garnet would be altered. He wouldn't be allowed to accidentally grab her bum as she's climbing up onto her ship, would he? If we go for Final Fantasy X, Auron is my favourite character in that. I think he's really interesting. I think it's hilarious that he's the same age as me, but looks 20 years older. I mean, he has been through the mill a bit, but in all technicalities, he's dead. Final Fantasy 11, I never had a go on that. Didn't have access to a console at the time that could connect to the internet, so I didn't have that. And plus, I'm not really an MMO kind of person. Final Fantasy 12, Balthea. Final Fantasy 13. I would say Saz is my favourite there, but just because he seems like the most normal character on that. I really like Final Fantasy 13, but they're all idiots apart from Saz. Saz like reacts how a normal person would react to stuff. Again, Final Fantasy 14 didn't get into it. We've got it downloaded. We might give it a go. But I've not. The first time I downloaded it was the first time it got released. And yeah, I couldn't get into it. That was when I really decided I wasn't into MMORPGs. Final Fantasy 15, every single party member is on the spectrum there, whether it's it doesn't matter what spectrum it is, they're on the spectrum. And they like, I like 15, I like the gameplay elements. Some of the story elements, like, but to be fair, that was a victim. That game was a victim of a really bad development cycle. So that's why it's full of holes. But if you said pick a character, I would probably say Gladio. If I was to pick a party member who was my favourite out of those, Gladio would probably be the one, just because he just seems like the most normal guy. Like he's there because he's protecting his king, but he's also there because, well, he gets aggy with Noctis because Noctis is the king, so I behave like a king type thing, if that makes sense. Final Fantasy 16 is Clive. Yeah, I'll say Clive is my favourite of all time. No, I can't really. Final Fantasy 7 is Tifa. Especially in the remakes. Tifa is my favourite. I love her. I just love her. She's like, I love her story. No, mind you, Barrett. I don't know. Yeah. Tifa and then Barrett is a very close second. Just I love Barrett's story. I love the backstory. I love the way that they fleshed out their stories and added so much more context. And Zack's really fun as well. If we take into Crisis Core into it as well, Zack's just like a really wholesome, like lovable character. If we go into Crisis Core, I do like Angeal. But I like Angeal because I like the way that the Buster Sword is his, then it's Zack's, then it's Cloud's. And I just like that. I like that progression through the story because you just don't expect that. Like the first time I played Crisis Core, which was maybe in like 2016 or 2017, and I played it on the PSP, and I remember like my mind was blown. That the Buster Sword actually didn't belong to just Zack first. It came from someone else, and I loved that. If we go back to 6, yeah, probably Kefka, just because he's hilarious. I know you can't play as Kefka, but he's hilarious. And probably Terra. Is Terra in that one? Can't remember. Final Fantasy 4. God, it's been years since I played Final Fantasy 4. Hard to say because I played that on the 3DS. So I liked that. I just liked the party dynamics in that game, full stop. So I suppose the obvious one would be to say Cecil because he's sort of like the main character, but then I also liked having Rosa there in the party as well. What? 2011 old lady? Thanks, screw you, man. So Daycoff is saying, do I have any interest in Final Fantasy 14? I don't know, because as I was saying, like MMOs I'm not really into. Michael Constantino is saying Final Fantasy X-2, all the characters are annoying. I have to mute the sound. But you have to think the director changed for Final Fantasy X-2, didn't it? And it was that guy whose name is eluding me at the moment. I can't think what his name is, but he's also the guy behind Final Fantasy 13, and you can tell he's clearly in love with lightning. Especially you can tell when you get to 13.3 as well, because like again it's the same sort of thing, the dress sphere system in Final Fantasy X-2, and then all of the different outfits that have different power-ups and perks to them for Final Fantasy 13.3. The Final Fantasy X-2, yeah, I see what you're saying. Like Yuna, the whole change of Yuna from going from like quiet and subdued summoner who's lost her, who's an orphan, and And then she goes on her journey, and then she loses the love of her life after spending this whole journey thinking she was going to die, and then she doesn't die, but the love of her life is then gone because it turns out he wasn't real, and then she becomes a superstar, pop star, singing in the middle of Kilika Stadium, and it's like, oh god, not Kilika. But yeah, it's just the whole thing's a bit bonkers. I find the story is slightly bonkers, but at the same time, I really like the dress sphere grid system. I find that really entertaining. I like being able to put them into different outfits. I kind of like Bravely Default for the same reason, where you can chop and change around their jobs. But yeah, I see what you're saying. But the only one who's really properly annoying, I guess, is Pain. Pain gets on my nerves the most out of those. Just because I feel like they just lined Pain up to just be a young female version of Auron. It just doesn't do it for me. Bree-chan is saying, am I really speaking with Milady Decades? Yes, you are. But if you want to sound like you're from the gentry rather than a commoner, then you say my lady. Well, I picked that one up from Game of Thrones. Tripper's saying Kane is my favourite emo boy. Yeah, Kane he's the emo boy, isn't he? Resetro is saying how about Maester Seymour? Are you a fan? Lord Seymour? I find him creepy. He's great, but he's not on the same level as Kefka, let's be honest. To see Lord Seymour, yeah, he's a good bad guy. He's annoying to fight, but then I suppose Yunalesca's more annoying to fight. I suppose he's alright, but he's just, yeah, I think Kefka's better villain. Sephiroth is a significantly better villain. Right, where was we? Final Fantasy 2 was one of my faves. The first one I spent hours getting lost in whirlpools. Dracula is saying, what is your attitude to the game Final Battle on the Sega Genesis? Mega Drive, Newport game. Can't answer that, don't know. Glenn Norrington is saying, Chris Crab, you're dooming me. Matthew King Alexander is saying, Final Fantasy 7 is still my #1 favourite Final Fantasy game of all time. Final Fantasy 7, the OG one. I actually played Final Fantasy 10 before I played 7. And 7 deserves the hype. It was that good. I don't think Final Fantasy 8 gets the love that it deserves because people find that the customization system on that is really, really complicated. But once you get your head around it, it's fine. Mr. Lone Wolf is saying Final Fantasy X-2. To me, it felt like Final Fantasy meets Charlie's Angels. That is so true. I think, like, if you think about like the years in which the Charlie's Angels remake with like Lucy Liu and Drew Barrymore and Cameron Diaz would have been around the same sort of time, maybe a few years earlier than Final Fantasy X-2. So I can see that being an inspiration. And I loved the Charlie's Angels films when I was younger. Absolutely loved those. Justin Moans is saying, you're spamming a bit too much for the chat level. Mind toning it down? I haven't streamed in such a long time. I will have to tinker with the settings. For the time being, you're going to have to put up with Streamlabs as it is. Because otherwise I'm going to have to like stop talking to you and then like fiddle with the timers, because again, like these are very, very old timers that I've got on there from when I used to stream regular. So we're going back like a good couple of years at least from when I used to struggle regular, but I don't think it's that bad, the Streamlabs. It's because I've got 4 different timers on. So join my Discord when you see that, or subscribe to my YouTube channel when you see that if you're not already, or support me on Patreon when that one comes up, and then also I've added an Instance Gaming one on there as well, which is a new one that I added on earlier, because if you want to have up to 90% off of a brand new game, then click that link, treat yourself to a few games, because that's the other thing that I'm very much feeling at the moment is why pay full price for these modern games when you can just get them with a discount instead. So Trip is saying Final Fantasy X, Auron and Lulu were great, but I hated everyone else. Oh, come on. You didn't hate all of them, did you? Like Waka? I mean, he was a religious zealot. You've got to have religious zealots, and he was also very, very racist as well. You need to have that, because then that becomes his redemption arc as he gets over his racism for the Albeds. You gotta have that. And then you've got Jecht as well, model father. Like, toughened up his kid. Stop being such a crybaby. So Mr. Aweezy is saying, why hate Yuna? No, Yuna's not a wimp. She's doing what she needs to do. She's got conviction. This is just Final Fantasy X. I just find it mega cheesy that she's gone from demure summoner to international superstar pop star Yuna. I find that like funny. It's just such a transition, isn't it? What a transition. You don't even hear it. You see her dance. You see her dance in Final Fantasy X. There's no singing. And she goes from summoner to Japanese icon. It's just very much that director. Can't remember his name. Drop it in the chat if you know the director of that game's name. It's just very him. He's obviously got a very particular taste in how he likes his ladies. And I'm all for it. I'm all for it. It's fine. Michael is saying, I hope Final Fantasy 17 will be 2D turn-based and random battles. Oh, how nice would that be? Oh, I'd love that. Right, okay. Get back to editing, Glyn Norrington. The Devil is saying, what did you think of Palworld getting sued by Nintendo for using Pokemon-like mechanics? They even want... I made a video on that, Devil. If you go back through my recent catalogue of videos, I've got a whole video on it, which has my opinion in there. I do think it's a bit sneaky that Nintendo essentially... It seems that they waited for the game to come out and then updated their patents so that they could sue. That's how it comes across. And... but yeah, I've gone into detail in that. Glyn Norrington. I like my ladies smelling like pickled eggs. This is why you've got no friends. When you say stuff like that, it's not attractive. Yes, that dash. Agreeing with Final Fantasy VIII being underappreciated, I think the big issue was it tried to break away from the more traditional looking Final Fantasy games, which led us to the look of Final Fantasy IX. And Final Fantasy IX is so good. Like they wound it back a bit with Final Fantasy IX, but they kept it spicy by having the different bits of armor, etc., where you learned abilities. So I did like that. And I think that Final Fantasy IX, where you learn abilities from armor, I think that was then inspiration for Sakaguchi when he made the Lost Odyssey, which I'm going back to Lost Odyssey. But like in that, you've got immortals, and then you've got your mortals who are in your party, and the immortals learn their abilities from whichever mortal is within your party. So that feels very Final Fantasy IX to me. And again, I can't recommend that game enough if you can get access to it. Blitzer Blazinoa is saying, somewhere in the internet, Ian Lee is shouting "Groove harder." I don't know who that is. Sierra Miero is saying, who also is a high summoner, Yuna, and is also still an ex-summoner. It's a high summoner, Yuna, still, and it's still, well, that's not making sense to me. Could be my ADHD. It's not making that sense to me. Justin Moans is saying, do you have a SCART CRT? And do you use it? Yes, we've got one just in that room. And yes, we do use it because we've got our older systems plugged into it. So like when my children want to play like Banjo-Kazooie, we set it up on the CRT instead because it's just easier. Because then I don't have to muck about looking for converters, etc. Find that music. Have you ever played Hollow Knight? I've got Hollow Knight. I've not had a go on it yet, but I have got it. It's like one of those games that I'm like, should I play that? And then I don't. But I will do eventually. Yamato 85 saying Lady Decade is one beautiful 35-year-old woman. Thank you. I'd like to just add in a disclaimer that there is a lot of makeup on, and I've also carefully placed lights around me to make me look younger than I really am. Find Out Music is saying Final Fantasy IX is my favourite. It's up there for me. I do love it. I absolutely love Final Fantasy IX. Matthew King Alexander saying Final Fantasy IX is still so awesome. That is true. It is. Vinicius Sequeira. I know I've just botched your name, so I do apologise for that. Saying hello from Brazil. Hello to you in Brazil. I'd love to go to Brazil. Russ Williams is saying it sounds like Nintendo filed the patents after the game came out 20 years after those mechanics were used in games. Should be totally invalid. We'll see. I know Asmongold not long ago uploaded a video explaining it, which means that he's uploaded someone else's video that he's reacted to explaining it. So I need to watch that, see what's said, and see what the latest is on that, because it might be that I might need to do an update video on my Power World video. So we shall see. Patsk is saying HDMI conversion also adds a lot of latency, I'm sure. I'm not that technically minded, so I couldn't tell you. I don't know. Yamato is saying, I love your game collection, though. It's like mine. I hope you keep it forever. Do you know, every so often I'm like, should we sell it? Because we could probably make a lot of money if we just sold it. And then my other half is like, no, it's got to go in a mausoleum with me when I die. So, not allowed to, because it's going to get buried with him. I wonder if anyone's ever been like buried with like their Elvis collection or their Beatles collection. Could you imagine being that much of a fan of something? Richard Henry is saying, I want to say thank you for your Kotaku video last week. I found out over Thanksgiving when I wasn't tagged in family photos that my sister-in-law unfriended me because of how I voted. That is so... do you know what, that sort of thing really annoys me? It really annoys me. Like, for example, like, I've got friends who vote Conservative. I've got friends who vote Labour. So, and, like, okay, it doesn't matter. Like, do you like that person or do you not like them? Because you clearly don't like them, really, truly, if you're that bothered. Like, if you can use how they vote as an excuse to cut ties with them, then they weren't really your friend or someone that you liked in the first place to be that petty. I mean, you have to have some kind of extremist mentality. It just seems... that, to me, is just utterly pathetic. It's just me. Like, you might feel that strongly, and fine if you feel that strongly, but... what a dumb reason to not be friends with someone, or to not talk to someone, or... like, there's much worse reasons to not be friends with someone. Like, they might have punched you in the face and called you a cunt. Like, that's a better reason, in my opinion. Or, I don't know, they might have kicked your dog. That's a better reason. It's just my opinion. Rezetro is saying, would you prefer a Final Fantasy X prequel with Brasco, Jecht and Auron? Yes. Yes, or a Final Fantasy X-3. No, the prequel. Absolutely the prequel. Like, prequels can be very, very, very good things. Like, look at Star Wars. Prequels are everything. Russ Williams is saying, HDMI shouldn't add any latency. At most, it needs a buffer, 2 lines on the screen. There you go, that answers the question from earlier. Blitzer is saying the conversation is taking a true crime turn. If anything happens to Richard, we know the who, the what, the why. Justin Moans is saying, like the original team wasn't involved and the upgrade looks like Play-Doh. I've missed what you're talking about. LGB is saying, I enjoy conversations with people politically different. Sunsets for everyone and we all see it differently. Yeah, exactly. It's like, honestly, it's like there's no sense like to let that sort of thing get in the way of friends and family. Like, this is why the Kotaku article irks me. Like, clearly the article was meant to be tongue-in-cheek. Like, we're not idiots. We know it was supposed to be humorous. But we're living in a time where people are getting their panties in a twist. Ooh, excuse me. Because I've got Trump derangement syndrome. And it's like, calm down. Like, in the grand scheme of things, like, you're right, it's not being took away from you. And like they're saying, oh, well, this is a problem, that is a problem. oh, well, he stands for this and he stands for that. And then half the time, when you actually look into it, the extreme thing that they're ever so worried about turns out not to be true. And then also from my point of view, as someone who doesn't live in America, doesn't desire to live in America, like, what goes on in America doesn't overly affect my day-to-day living. Like my getting up in the morning, my taking my children to school, me having to run to the supermarket, me having to do my chores around the house. Like, if you're the sort of person, like for example, I could be like crying in a corner because Keir Starmer got voted in, and be like, oh, that's really affecting me really, really god awfully. Like, obviously, I realise that governments, it does have effects on countries and so on and so forth, but people need to calm down and stop making mountains out of molehills and just to wind it back and chill out, because getting stressed over something that you can't directly control is really counterproductive and dumb, in my opinion. And lots of people will disagree with that, and fine, disagree with that if you want to, but I don't see the point in stressing about something I can't directly control. If I can directly control it and I can do something about it, then it's worth stressing over, because then I can deal with it. But if I can't control it, then just do the best of what you can and try and remember what is a priority in your life. Like, people, like a lot of the problems that we've got, like with senior developers spouting off on social media and acting unprofessional, is because they're too emotional. And when you're too emotional about stuff, you say stupid things and you get yourself in trouble and then regret it later down the line. What's the point? No point. I'll get back to the chat because I'm ranting now. Curtis is saying, greetings from Canada. Love retro gaming and by extension, love your channel. Thank you, Curtis. Sage Mahmood is saying, to be 350 lady centuries. Do you know what? Maybe in our lifetime we'll see people like having like life extensions. That'd be great. Pete Beckett is saying Kotaku is an outlet that I considered dead a long time ago, so I took no notice of its complete stupidity. Same with anything from the Gamer 2. Yeah. Can't argue with that. OGB is saying not gonna like my fave political thing in the last 10 years. Pantifa. Oh, what have we got here? 1 times Bandcamp saying, do you have a favourite shoot 'em up? Favourite shoot 'em up. Oh, we got a new subscriber as well. Favourite shoot 'em up. Let me think. God, I haven't played a proper shoot 'em up for ages, because I'm not very good at them. The last one I had a go on was probably Metal Slug. But I'm just not very good at them. I'm rubbish at them. It's sort of like, there's games that I enjoy and then there's games that I'm rubbish at. And I feel like shoot 'em ups are ones that I'm not very good at. But there's that really fun looking one, and I can't remember what its name is. But it's a treasure one. And I can't think what it's called. So you're gonna have to refresh my, if anyone in chat remembers what the treasure shoot 'em up is. The one where they bounce around and they've got the guns that go everywhere, and it's really like good fun. Side scrolly type one. Where are we? Mr. Lone Wolf saying it's usually both political spectrums that keep playing on people's emotions and values. Yeah. See, I place myself right in the middle. I like to class myself a centrist because I can see good and bad on both sides. And I do believe in horseshoe theory as well. That you go far enough in one direction, you just end up at the other. Oh, another new subscriber. Oh, Pete Beckett is now subscribed. Thank you. Yes, Gunstar Heroes. Thank you. And you're talking about run and gun games. Shoot, the ones with little spaceships. Oh, But that's just more games I'm rubbish at. Yeah, that's just more games I'm rubbish at. So they're like games that I like, but they're games that I'm rubbish at. I like RPGs and JRPGs. sort of more action orientated games. I like them, but I'm not great at them. Peter Justin, Gunstar Heroes, yeah. I like the look of that game. Russ is saying Ikaruga is great, it's Radiant Silvergun too, but I like the classic, so R-Type. Michael Constantino saying, I played Xenogears when it was new, but I'm replying it like 25 years later. Replaying it like 25 years later. I've not played the Xenogears games, but I love Xenoblade Chronicles. I like Xenoblade Chronicles X. Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles, that's like up there as one of my all-time best games ever. It's so good. If you haven't played that game, you should play it. It's so good. What have we got? Logan Rogers is saying OF, which I'm guessing you mean OnlyFans. No. Devastatia is saying, who is the 35-year-old under scrutiny? That would probably be me. I suppose you're all scrutinising me at the moment. Blitzer Blazinara is saying, I have irrational dislike of Diddy Kong Racing for some reason. Just a little bit. Smilily is saying, who remembers Gigawing? If you're a proper G, you do. Xenogears had a masterful story. The combat got pretty repetitive though. Michael Constantino is saying, I tried playing Vagrant Story recently and it doesn't hold up at all. I've got Vagrant Story and I've not ever played it. The game that I want to have a go on, if I remember to, is I want to set up my PlayStation and play Tombi and Monkey Hero. Those are the two games I'd like to play at the moment. Pete Beckett is saying, speaking of JRPGs, have you played Yakuza 7 and Infinite Wealth? No, don't spoil Infinite Wealth for me, because my other half's playing it at the moment and I'm waiting for them to finish so that I can then play that game, because I love Like a Dragon. So no spoilers. Do not tell me what's happening in that story. I want to know nothing of it because I intend to play it as soon as I can do. In the meantime, if I finish Lost Odyssey, then what am I going to have a go on? I might play... I don't know. I have to go through the games. At the moment, we're having a fight over the PlayStation 5. Because there's games that I want to have a go on the PlayStation 5. But it's difficult if someone else is playing it. So, I've got something arriving in the post tomorrow. So I ended up I was going to go get like a Google Nest Pro. Sorry, this is a complete and utter subject change. I was going to get a Google Nest Pro because they were on Black Friday deal. And I thought, yeah, I'll get that. But even on the Black Friday deal, it's like 130 quid. And you only get one. Or you pay 300 quid and get 3. So I don't know how many I'm going to need. So my friend then showed me that EE, who my Wi-Fi is with and my phone's with, had like an equivalent. And it does more or less the same thing, but was significantly cheaper. So that should be arriving tomorrow. And I'll be able to set myself up like a nice little mesh around the house. And the reason I thought of that is because we often have fights over the TV in the lounge because that's where the PS5 is. But we also have a PlayStation Portal, which means that whoever is hogging the PlayStation doesn't have to hog the TV and can be banished from that room and sent somewhere else, which at the moment they can't because the Wi-Fi is not good enough around this house. So I don't know whether anyone else has got one of these like Wi-Fi Pro mesh things. But if you do, let me know what you think of them, because I don't know whether I've like wasted a load of money or not buying that. Because the other reason was because I wanted to strengthen the Wi-Fi signal, because I'm not in a position to be able to plug my laptop into an actual socket to be able to have wired internet rather than use Wi-Fi. And I figured it would help keep everything nice and stable. LGB is saying, it's Space Marines 2. That's repetitive combat, Si. You're not enjoying it? Loads of people love that game. The Gaming Neo is saying, if you get your PlayStation out, try and get hold of Galarians from around 1999. It's an interesting game. Right, so Galerians, that is a survival horror, and it's got the kids in it. We think survival horror, niche survival horror. It's got the kids. He gets injected with the stuff, and then he can do psychic attacks. But if he then, I think if his MP maxes out, then he can one hit kill people, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't know whether I can get that game in this country easily or not, but yeah, am I thinking of the right game? Galerians. I find survival horrors and like PlayStation survival horrors, PlayStation 2 survival horrors, I find all that sort of thing really fascinating. Like, I've been watching videos about D2, Enemy Zero. I'm pretty sure that Galerians, I've watched a video on that at some point recently. I find survival horrors really interesting. Interesting, but I'm too chicken to play them. So, go figure. Let me just check through the chats. So Gaming Neo, you said Galerians. So, yep. Gaming Neo, yep. I remember I rented it from Blockbuster way back when. So I'm pretty sure I'm right about Galerians. You play as that boy. It's a really, 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 really 90s game, as far as I know. Brian Hennigar saying, long time subscriber here. I absolutely love your videos. Has anyone ever told you that, especially when you smile, you look like a very young Caroline Quentin? I've not heard that one. People normally say I look like Deanna Troi. So, and I can't see it. I can't see it with Deanna Troi at all. Because she's Greek and I am part Asian. So, yeah, I don't see it personally. But yeah, Caroline Quentin, I'm going to have to Google who that is. Joshua Lowe is saying, recently Street Fighter 6 released a new Bison boss battle. Have you ever played Street Fighter 6? Yeah, I've got Street Fighter 6. I've had a go on it a few times. I don't get as deeply into that as my other half. Like, he played it, and then I've had a few goes on it. I played Tekken 8 a few more times than I did Street Fighter 6, but now that you say that, I might get into it. I'm just not very good. I have to set everything to like basic bitch mode to be able to get anywhere in these games. I'd never be able to do anything like that on a competitive level. But it's one of those things where I've read up so much about like character lore on the characters, and obviously my other half makes lots of Street Fighter videos. It's like one of those things that I know more about it lore wise than sitting and trying to learn how to throw a Hadouken and so on and so forth. Blitzer is saying, I love Jet Force Gemini. LGB is saying, I know it's okay. I don't know what you're on about there. Trip is saying, yeah, I don't really see the Troy. Maybe it's more about your demeanor. Brian Hennigar is saying, thank you for replying. Your channel is truly a necessity for gracious living. Have a wonderful festive season. Thank you. Right, guys, I've been on here an hour. I've got to go and do a bit of housework and get prepped for dinner this evening and so on and so forth. So I'm going to call it a day. Thank you very much for coming along, and yeah, and I'll probably stream again when I next do my next load of filming. So I'll try and stream in the daytime more often. Lovely to have all of you.